Hey, everybody, and welcome to Take a Pause with Menopause. It is season 2. I can hardly believe that this is happening, but the podcast is in its second season, and this is where we talk about hot flashes, how they are real. The brain fog is thick, and you will walk into a room and not remember why. But it's okay, girls, because we're your hosts, Debbie and I. Hey, Debbie.
Hi,
There she is.
I'm
There
here.
you are. Okay. Bringing real conversations about menopause, midlife, hormones, relationships, and just, trying to remember like, did we take all of our supplements and vitamins the day before? So we mix laughter with education because menopause is hard enough without pretending we have it all together. So, grab your coffee, water, wine, non alcoholic
Mm.
wine, which is what I'm on now, or whatever is getting you through today. And yeah, and let's take a pause with menopause. So
Let's
we are
do
so
this.
excited, Debbie. I
Hi.
know because we have our, I would say, the most requested, the most commented on guest with us today, which is Giselle, who
Giselle.
we have had the pleasure to have on 4 times. This is your 5th, appearance, and we're so excited for that because every appearance and every podcast, episode, we learn so much. I mean, it's amazing what we learn. I mean, you walk around, I have so many aha moments just talking with you. Like, they either happen that you can see it actually on screen happening, or, like, after I'm reviewing all the notes and I'm like, "Oh, that makes sense. That's why. That's why." So, yes. So we can, for everybody who doesn't know, we will let Giselle, since it's season 2, we'll let you introduce yourself and what you do, and then we'll get into talking about the, we're
The
going to have
tea
a
and the tummy.
nice little tea about
The tea and
everything
the
that we
tummy.
talked about.
There
The
you go.
GI, right?
TT. We're
The
double
GI.
T's.
The
GI tummy.
testosterone, we had that split into 2 episodes because, well,
There was
there was a
so
lot.
much.
And then
And I don't
G
think we even covered it all though,
I
Mare.
don't think we
No, we
did
didn't.
either. So
Yeah.
it's like,
We
but
didn't.
we did have so much fun saying, "Let's talk about the tea." So, yes, without further ado, welcome,
Tee it
Giselle.
up.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having tee up. Thank you for
Tee up.
having me back, ladies. I really appreciate it.
Yes.
For those, well, for the audience out there, my
Yes.
name's Giselle. I'm the founder of Women's Institute for Specialized Health, a virtual telehealth clinic. I'm currently licensed in 36 states, working on 2, actively practicing in 28 states. It's a blessing and a curse. Um, but my passion, I'm a board certified family nurse practitioner. So I bring an integrative functional approach into my practice when I'm treating patients. Um, you know, Women's health is very complex, despite what some people say. Um, and what some organizations may say, it is very complex because it affects every organ system. And so, really being able to have patients come and one, believe their story,
Mhm.
hear what they're saying,
Yeah.
listen to them, and treat them from an integrative functional approach makes so much sense because as a provider, I want to treat Mare as the patient. I don't want to treat Mare, in
Yeah.
little
Yeah.
segments. So, so much gets missed when we do that, when we carpent, car,
Compartmentalize.
compartmentalize. Yes, thank
Whew,
you.
you gotta
The
start
care.
running with that word.
Oh
Yeah.
my God,
You just got to do it.
compartmentalize. I cannot say it.
Compartmentalized.
Yes, that word.
That word.
Compartmentalized.
Do want to make sure that yes, that we do want to make sure that we're treating the whole patient. So that's my stand. And
Mhm.
I love what I do. I love helping patients, taking care of them, figuring out, the whys, the the whys of why they have brain fog, why
Mhm.
they are having hot flashes, why they don't feel like themselves. So really understanding the woman behind the symptoms is what it is.
Yeah. And that is why we enjoy having you on here and talking with you so much because it's an approach that not everybody takes. You know what I mean? So you go to a doctor there just to treat your, your hot flashes. They just focus on one thing. And it is such, I have learned from these talks with you, that it is every system. It's crazy how it can be,
Yeah.
but it is. And I know, mm, to to look back, we did talk, the first one was the GI system, which that I did not know how much estrogen wreaks havoc with that system. I mean, I mean, it destroys it basically. And you're not even
Estrogen,
aware of it.
right? So
So
estrogen, progesterone, and
Mhm.
testosterone, right? It's
Yeah.
the estro bloom, and um there's everything starts in our gut. And a lot of patients will say, man, since perimenopause or menopause, I've had these symptoms. Actually, those things have been happening for a while. It's just those fluctuations in hormones that now it makes it more evident that, okay, there's a problem, when in fact that's been happening for some time. So it's
so
not just the hormonal imbalance. Sorry, Deb. It's not
no,
just the
no.
hormonal imbalance, but it's also the gut health.
So you're talking about when the estrogen lowers is when the issues happen. So yeah, okay. Because I really feel like
But go
go
ahead.
ahead.
I think we have a delay. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just saying that there's so many. I number one have had gut issues my whole life. My son also has gut issues too. So is it men and women both have? Do they have hormone issues with theirs? Because that's something we haven't really talked about, but I know that my younger son has gut issues. My older son does too, but he's saying, "Mom, I really need testosterone. I've been checked and it's so low." And he's 36, 37, and he said it's really hard to get even for him. Like it's expensive, so you have a young kid who's in his 30s and he still thinks he should be in his prime and he's already declining in his testosterone. He's losing hair. I mean, all these things are happening. So I don't know why I brought up men, but I'm just saying that when he said that, I said, well, you know what? I wonder if they have hormones like that. Do they have estrogen?
They
I don't
absolutely
know.
that men have, and I'm glad that you brought this up. And I understand that this is menopause. I
We're
also have a
taught we
men's clinic
good.
where
That's
I
what I
treat where I treat where I treat guys. Yeah. And guys go through andropause just like women go
Oh,
through
wait.
menopause,
So
right?
what is the
Yeah.
andro?
Andropause.
What does that stand what's that
Andropause.
mean?
So decrease in androgens, right? So testosterone being an androgen,
Okay.
um, they have they have their decrease, right? Just like menopause, we have the decrease of estrogen and progesterone. Progesterone can be or is an androgen as well, but we have that decrease in hormones. Men have a decrease in testosterone. They also have estrogen. And something since you brought this up, I'm glad you brought this up because um a lot of times I hear it, and I used to be one of those providers until I started, treating men and having my own practice and seeing that there is with guys too. It's not as easy for them to get testosterone, right? These insurance companies for guys are like, nope, your numbers aren't. Again, this is the problem. Insurance-based model medicine, which is dictating to the providers. Um, or having these guidelines of what their guidelines are, right? For men. They're saying that men can't have it because they don't have primary hypogonadism. Well, primary
Yeah, what's
hypogonadism, which
that?
is the decrease in testosterone. I know it's long words. Low testosterone, that primary hypogonadism is in less than 1% of the population. What men have is adult onset.
Mhm.
Like, does it sound familiar? Menopause, perimenopause, menopause, right? Later on onset. Um, Whereas primary ovarian insufficiency with our ovaries happens earlier than the age of 35, right? So men have adult onset hypogonadism, but if they have primary hypogonadism, that happens way earlier. So they can have a hard time getting testosterone as well. So
Yeah.
that's my spiel on that.
Yeah. But either way, like, they would have, issues also with gut too?
Yeah. Well, and you can also have issues with your gut without having problems with hormones though, right? So, uh, again, everything happens in the gut. You can have inflammatory responses and inflammation. You can have gut dysbiosis. You can have, um, um, the with women, what we see is the recirculation of estrogen,
Hmm.
right? And so sometimes when patients are on hormones, they're like, it's not working for me. My guts, I feel bloated. I don't feel good. And then when we do further testing, which a lot of times when patients go to their primary care provider or to a GI specialist, they're not going to do the specialized testing. They're going to say, well, let's do a colonoscopy and see what happens.
Yeah.
Okay, well, they're not analyzing the stool, right? And this is what we need. We need special tests and they can be pricey, but they're so full of information. That's what, our gut commensals are doing. It tells us what our gut neurotransmitters are doing. If we're recirculating estrogen, if there's inflammation, there's so much to tell
Right.
about stool
Yeah.
that can give us a lot of information. Um, you know, inflammation can cause other systems to go haywire. Patients who think that they have a thyroid dysfunction because their antibodies are high and their TSH levels are high. Well, guess what? You do a gut test on them, you help them identify the inflammatory markers and treat those. You help them identify the foods to maybe eliminate or decrease, and the body's resilient. It will revert. It will get
Hmm.
into what's considered normal, right?
Yeah.
Or optimized actually. Um, and that happens with thyroid, that happens with mood. There's a huge the gut brain axis, right? Um, and then the hormones, the estrogen that controls the gut too, or that the gut can control. So there's a lot that happens in the gut um that we can if we can fix your gut, a lot of times we can fix other symptoms.
Yeah.
True, and, none of that ever I never knew, you know what I mean? Because that's how, like, I was starting, like, in my late 30s, I had mentioned well, actually mid-40s, whatever, is, they "Oh, you're lactose intolerant," and I was like, okay, I've never been
I am.
lactose intolerant." And then, you go in, and then they're like, "Oh, well, now, well, you may be celiac, but just if it feels better, go gluten-free," and it's like, through my 40s, that's what it is. Only and nobody ever said, "Hey, let's do it." As I went through numerous colonoscopies, but never had a stool sample given to anybody. So it's like very interesting. And I'm so glad that there are companies that do like the GI mapping and other stuff like that. That is, yeah, it is very,
And the colonoscopy, if you had a colonoscopy, then they should be able to take you the gold standard, right,
mhm,
is a biopsy. And
yeah,
so if they're in
which,
there, they should take a biopsy. And if that tests positive for celiac, then yes, it's celiac. But if
yeah,
it doesn't,
right,
then, you know, so if it's negative, why are we telling patients that there's a sensitivity, right?
right,
There's inflammation that hasn't been detected that needs to be managed first and treated first. And then everything else, it's like that slippery slope. Everything
yep,
else just falls into place.
yeah. Well, yes. And so what are the biggest things that you have like your clients? What do they come to you when they say something with that? Are they having bloating or what is
Yeah.
like the yeah.
So I would say bloating is the top of the list. And they're frustrated because they're like, I haven't changed anything.
Yeah.
I haven't changed my diet. I'm still exercising. Um, why is this
Yeah.
happening? Why do I look 6 months pregnant?
Yeah.
Um,
Yep.
other things that I hear. Yeah. And it's frustrating, right? And these women are like, I don't understand what's happening in my body. Um, and so bloating, reflux, gas, abdominal
The
discomfort,
reflex,
right?
the
Uh,
reflex is bad.
Yes.
I had
mhm.
surgery for
Debbie
that.
has bad
It was
reflux.
so it's better now that I've had the surgery, but man, it
Wow.
was
Yeah.
I coughed like all night long for years. I coughed. It was bad, and I feel like nobody even you'd go in, but they never really addressed that. They just said, "Oh, it's just that,
Yeah.
you're bloated, whatever." And I mean, I'm still dealing with that, but I know I'm not the only woman or man who has that tummy thing around there that why won't it go away? And, eating certain foods, whether it's ice cream, chocolate, whatever it happens to be, I could take 3 bites and go, "Why did I have that? I shouldn't have ate that." And I could immediately tell. But still I eat it. I mean, it's
Yeah.
like it's yeah.
Yeah. No, I get it. And it's really frustrating because you should be able to um once you figure out the underlying, again, that's my whole thing,
Yep.
is finding the root cause,
Yep.
right? Once you find the root cause of why you're having that and fix that, then you should be able to enjoy your ice cream again. You should be able to, help decrease that reflux.
Mhm.
Um, I'm not saying that certain interventions aren't needed, like surgery. I don't know the whole story, but, again, going to traditional medicine or insurance based model practices, they're not going to check for those things.
Yeah.
So really, I always tell patients, do your homework, do some research. There's resources out there. Phone a friend,
Hmm.
what could be causing this? What tests are there
Yeah.
that we can really assess this? Because those, it's not going to do it, right? You know, going to a GI doctor, unless the GI doctor is a functional medicine GI doctor,
Mhm.
then you're not going to get those answers.
Right.
Um, so
And
yeah.
and do you think so to help should everybody be on a prebiotic and a probiotic at some point?
So so gut gut bacteria is really important, right?
Mhm.
And yes, well, technically, everybody, women should be getting 25 to 35 grams of fiber a day, right?
Yeah.
It's your insoluble, a mixture of insoluble and soluble that helps your gut biome. Men should be having 45 grams of fiber a day, right? Um, well, I've had this conversation with you guys how many times, right? Like it's a
I
full time job to get the
It's
fiber
hard to get
It
in,
that much.
is.
right?
But you know what's funny? It is. But I had somebody I was telling somebody at work, she came to me and was asking, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I gave her your recipe for the fiber protein shake, which I use and do every day, right? So I have it like down by heart." And I was like, "Oh, let me just give you this." I wrote
Nice.
this down, blah, 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 gave it to her. And then she was like, "Oh, it didn't work. I was so constipated." And I'm like, "Didn't work? What do you mean it didn't work? How can it not work?" And then I was like,
Did you drink water?
well, and then she said she was, because I'm like, what is happening? And I was like, it works, like that works. And she was like, it didn't work for me, Mary. And I was like, I felt so bad. Then I'm like, I'm so sorry. But I was like, somehow I don't think we were having enough water intake
Yeah.
at the same time.
So
So
now
water,
that you just
anytime we talk about, go ahead, Deb.
no, no, I was gonna say, now you've talked about it, for people who are just tuning in and didn't hear it the last time, I did not write that down, so I would love you to say the recipe again. That's the whole idea, because you got us all excited. Because I eat no fiber.
Yes. Yes.
Very bad.
Okay,
I'm
Oh,
like
fiber
flat in
is
my hand. Key.
okay, so let me tell you about the importance of fiber, because whenever we talk about macros, we always talk about protein, protein, protein,
right.
right? Protein's important. We need protein to build our muscles. We need protein for energy. We need that. Fiber is equally important. I would say actually, well, it is equally important. Whenever I talk to patients about fiber, they're like, "Oh, it's okay. I don't have a problem pooping." And I'm like,
I do.
That
"Okay,
does not. Yeah.
that's great. Yeah, I
Yeah.
know, right?" I'm like, "That's not what it's for, but it is what it's for, but it's not what it's
Right.
for."
Right.
Uh, what fiber does physiologically to our body is it helps regulate insulin levels, it helps regulate blood sugar, it helps decrease triglycerides, it helps increase our natural GLP-1 in our gut, and it helps us feel satiated,
Yeah.
right? So Um, there's different ways to get fiber. Psyllium fiber is soluble fiber, and so we want we want that in our regimen. We want to make sure we're getting some psyllium fiber, not Metamucil. You want to do just plain psyllium husk, not just one ingredient, psyllium husk.
Okay.
And you want to make
Write that down, Debbie. Psyllium husk.
psyllium husk. And
And
you
you
want to
just
make
take
sure
it
that
by
you're getting,
itself? Or you put it in a
well,
protein
you have to
shake or
mix
put
it
it in
in water,
yogurt?
right? So, well, you can, but it's going to solidify, right? Because that's what soluble fiber does. It kind of in your gut, it
Mhm.
turns into like a gel to
Get
like
everything out.
take all the
Yeah.
junk out.
I need
But
some.
if you're not drinking the water that you're supposed to take, it's gonna not do its job. It's gonna stick in your gut.
Yeah.
So you've
Okay.
gotta, it's just like the chia seeds. Chia seeds are a wonderful source of fiber. But if you don't drink that water,
Okay.
it's gonna it
Yeah.
Plug you.
plug you up. Yeah.
Oh,
That
yeah.
could be my problem.
Yeah.
The chia seeds, I said to somebody one
Coconut
time, I'm
water.
like, yeah, coconut water, but those chia seeds, like I just, they're so tiny. But if you don't drink water, I feel like they just like get like the size of marbles and then they just stay there and you got to push them through. It takes forever. And I'm like, oh my God. But yeah. So, psyllium husk, Debbie, you got to
Yeah.
start writing
So
that
we're,
I
down.
so
I'm gonna text it
there's
to
different
myself.
brands out there, but starting your morning with 20 ounces of warm water, like squeeze half a lemon
Here
and
we go, Deb.
I
put
know.
a little bit, like put 1 to 2 teaspoons, depending on what the psyllium fiber serving sizes are.
Hmm.
You always want to start fiber slow. You don't want to
Yeah.
like give some. I almost killed my husband a couple weeks ago because I gave him so much fiber in one sitting. He thought he was going to die. So sorry, babe.
Sorry.
Did not mean to do
Sorry,
that.
honey.
Yeah, I felt so bad. He's like, "What is this?" And it was my protein drink. And he's like, "This is absolutely horrible." And I was like, "I think it's good."
Think it's good too, but you do have to it like you do like and I know too when I don't drink it. Like if I don't have time to make it before I leave for work or if I'm, like just running out the door and then I'm like, "Oh,
Yeah,
miss
yeah,
my protein shake." Like it is starts the morning.
yeah. But
Okay.
but if you start your morning with that warm water, squeeze a lemon, get some psyllium husk in there, and drink that, that's going to get things going. And just make sure you're
Okay.
continuing to drink water throughout the day,
Very
right?
good, Deb.
Now,
I got it.
technically you can do that psyllium husk before every meal if you wanted to. That's going to help. This is another thing that I try to tell patients. The way you eat, the order that you eat your food is also important,
Yeah.
right? So fiber, protein, carbs. Why? Because when you have your fiber on board, what's that going to do? That's going to help decrease any insulin spikes or prevent those
Mhm.
insulin spikes that can turn into sugar, right? So when we're looking at labels, really important to know what your fiber content is and what your carb content is. You take your fiber away from you take your the fiber away from the carbs, right? So if we're trying to count carbs, which for some patients, diabetic patients or patients who are really trying to follow like a low glycemic index
Mhm.
diet, um, it makes sense, right? Why are we taking fiber? Why do we subtract that? Because it negates it, right? And it helps control all of that. It helps regulate insulin levels, blood sugar levels. Carbs are blood sugar. So,
It's funny that you should mention it because I would always my son as a kid, we would always be like, "Why are you eating the way he eats?" Like if we had french fries or something, that would be at the end.
oh my gosh, I'm proud of him.
He would eat his burger, his whole complete burger first, and I'm like, "Don't you wanna eat your fries with the burger?" Like, I'm like,
So how do
he
you
no.
know that?
He just always did it. He would get, like, his favorite meal for his birthday and everything was chicken parm and pasta. He would eat all of the chicken parm first
And then the pasta?
without the spaghetti and then all the pasta, and I'm like, "How? Don't you want a little pasta on that fork with the" and nope, and he literally is, like, I don't know, he is, like, tall, thin, Skinny, like, never had a weight problem, never anything.
Okay, so now pay attention.
Yeah.
Does he eat his fiber first? So, like, if it's, like, broccoli, chicken parm, and pasta, does he eat
Yeah.
his broccoli
Yeah.
first?
He would get, because I would
That's
be like, "You don't have to eat your vegetables first," and he would say he ate his vegetables first to get it done,
I
because
was
he
gonna
didn't,
say,
yeah,
yeah.
he wanted that done and over with. It wasn't the favorite part. Then he would eat, like, the chicken par from the time, literally, guys, from the
That's
time he was a kid,
crazy.
and I would be the one like,
He didn't
"Yeah."
realize what he was doing.
Realized what he was doing further. I was like, "Why are you doing that? Don't you want your pasta, like, the pa," and he's like, "No." Till this day, he is 33, to this day, he would eat the broccoli first, the chicken parm, and the pasta.
I love it.
To this
I
day.
love it.
Oh,
It's
I'm
funny.
gonna try
Now I'm
that.
gonna
I'm
have to
gonna try
start
that.
doing it. I'm gonna start
I'm
doing.
gonna work on that. I'm gonna work on
Yeah.
Yeah.
that.
Well, and then it's so funny because I tell patients, I'm like, "Well, if you're drinking a smoothie, it's kind of hard. You're just kind of putting everything into the
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
together." But
It's
yeah,
easy, though. But,
yeah,
yeah. Well, okay. Well, alright, girls. Well, now
Okay.
now we can go on to our,
The
well, one
tea?
of my favorite topics was the
The
tea,
the
as
tea.
tea.
Debbie, yes.
Before we do go further, right? Some going back to the gut health, um, while some of these things are normal, right? Like
Yeah.
the bloating, the gas, all of that, things that I don't want patients to ignore.
Okay.
I always tell patients, I much rather you guys come to me 100 times for nothing than it's that
Yeah.
one time that you're like,
Right.
I'm going to hold off.
Right.
Um, I tell patients, email me, text me, send a courier pigeon. I don't care. I want to know if you have unexplained weight loss, blood in your stool, persistent abdominal pain, um, new onset or worsening reflux that just is happening, and then
Mhm.
difficulty swallowing, any changes in bowel habits. All of those things are really important because remember, as women, we have in that peritoneal space, and um, we have our bladder, we have our intestines, we have our ovaries, we have our uterus, we have a lot of different organs in there. And so, and a lot of times, if we're having an issue with one organ system, sometimes it can radiate to the other,
Mhm.
and we're thinking,
Right.
oh, it's just gas.
Yeah.
I'm just really bloated. I much rather have a patient come to me, get that documented, have orders on standby if we need to do any kind of imaging or anything.
Mhm.
And so that way we can talk through it. So those are some of the things that I always tell patients, don't ignore those. Trust your instincts. You've been in your body a lot longer.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I'm walking alongside this with you. So I really want patients to stay attuned to their body and listen to their body.
Perfect. Thank you. Yeah, because I forgot to say,
Summarize
like,
all
"Hey,
that.
what is the," yeah, to summarize, but even to say, to make sure that people know what is not a normal situation. Yeah.
Yeah, for
Right.
So,
sure. For
thank
sure.
you.
Of course.
And now we
The
go back
tea.
to the tea. Yes, that
Yeah.
is it's the testosterone battle. That's what we will call it, because it's one of our most downloaded conversations, and because I think it's like the unicorn of all the hormones. Nobody really knows about it in the sense that they talk about it, because here on the East Coast, you're just told, no, vetoed. It's like they have a stamp, vetoed. Can't get it. And it's like, oh, I don't give this. I've heard from other practitioners, oh, we don't provide that for women. It's not FDA, blah, blah, blah. So when we had our 2 episodes and we gave the information, I think it made women really start questioning, like, wait a minute, they're not talking about it. I can talk about it and do the research to really learn, because I know I have. And since then, I have found the tea, and I love her. She is like the bomb. She really is. Like, what did you say? She is the one that, like, keeps the lights on, like the party, but she's the very true. All of our little analogies that we made, we tried to make it, fun for those 2
And
episodes.
exciting, right?
Fun and exciting, but
Yeah.
it is very true.
Yeah. And it's unfortunate. I mean, even with, even up until a few years ago, HRT, estrogen,
People
progesterone,
weren't even talking about that. They're like, "Oh, don't do that."
it's You're exactly right,
No.
Debbie.
Yeah.
I always tell patients, I always tell my colleagues, man, it's like a bad word saying
Yeah.
HRT or
No, it
estrogen.
is.
And it's really sad, but truth be told, HRT when it was first used as a treatment, it was really to treat symptoms, right?
Mhm.
Um, it was really used just to treat symptoms and not really understanding the health benefits
Benefits.
to it.
Yeah.
Um, so now hopefully with more and more research coming out, just like so estrogen, right? Yeah, it helps with those hot flashes and those night sweats. It helps with the brain fog.
Mhm.
Who wants to walk around feeling like crap when we
Yeah.
can use a patch, right?
Yeah.
It's not a bad word. Women can use it. Um, and a lot of patients are like, oh yeah, my doctor says that it's, my symptoms. Okay, but what about the health benefits of it? What about the
Yeah.
bone health, brain health, the cardiovascular health?
Mhm.
We're
Which
missing that part. We need to stop thinking of it as, oh, we're just going to treat the hot flashes and the night sweats and the brain fog. No, we're actually treating the estrogen levels that are affecting other disease processes that can happen in our body because of declined estrogen
yeah,
levels
and
and
you know
testosterone.
what's really strange is that most people when you say that, they think it's just for hot flashes and
Yeah.
brain fog. But
Yeah.
lately, since we've been doing all of our podcasts, I'm realizing that it's the silent stuff that's going on, the bone loss, like you say, the heart. We don't even know what's happening. And yet you have to wait to get your bone scan. And if you have low estrogen and progesterone, like I had like no progesterone when I was pregnant. Like that's why I had a hard time even keeping the child. So all
Yeah.
that time, my hormones I had none of it. Yet they're like, oh, well, you're young and this, but they weren't really testing it. And if they would have, I wouldn't have the bone loss now. But nobody
Yeah.
checked it until I hit a certain
And
age and it was too late
Right.
well,
in a
and
way.
we've no, it's this is we've spoken about this. This
Yeah.
is
It's,
I hate I
whew,
hate
She's
I hate the word guidelines when people are like, well,
yeah.
guidelines.
You can't do
I
it
can
until
give
you're this age.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I'm so thankful. Yay. Okay, great. There's guidelines, but look at what guidelines have done to medicine. Look at what guidelines have done to women. Guidelines are just that. I'm a free thinker. I can use my brain. I can deduce what is good for my patients and what's not. And it is a conversation that I have with my patients. I am their partner in healthcare. And so if I say, "Hey, I think I want to do this because we know in perimenopause is actually when bone loss starts, why don't we start testing these things? Let's listen to the
I
family
agree.
history. Let's listen to what's going on with your history, right?" But guidelines is a problem, you know?
Mhm.
And there's a lot of platforms out there that say, well, guidelines, I can give a
I know.
shit what guidelines say, you know?
It's so
But
true.
We're all
it
different. We're all
We are
different. And
exactly.
we
we
all
are
age
not one
differently.
size fits
Fits.
We're
all or
not.
most. We're not cookie
No.
cutters. Like we're
We're
not
not.
all the
And
same.
if I listen to what guidelines say, okay, so
Yep.
my patient who was 7 years post-menopause in her 40s because she had a a radical hysterectomy
Yeah.
because of whatever reason. Okay, so you're telling me I'm not going to do it. Technically, guidelines say 5 years post menopause, but how
Mhm.
many providers follow that,
No.
right? They say, oh, 65. I'm sorry, 65. People already are osteoporotic and have
Yep.
That would be
fractures.
me.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like, why are we waiting? And so, I mean, I know the topic is testosterone, which testosterone is amazing.
Yes.
It's an amazing hormone. Is it for everybody? No. Is estrogen and progesterone for everybody? No. But again, that's a conversation that you have with your healthcare provider. Testosterone, and this is one thing as I consider myself an expert in it with testosterone. It's a great hormone. I do when I test patients for testosterone, my panel is a bit extensive because testosterone can affect other hormones and other hormones can affect testosterone. So we need to really look at the whole picture,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
So often I have patients come to me and they're like, "Yeah, my provider did my testosterone." I'm like, "Okay, what what's your panel? Let's read it." And they're like, "Well, they did a total testosterone." I'm like,
Yes.
"Okay, what about sex hormone binding
No.
globulin, DHT,
Nope.
CBC?" This is my number. This is one of the things that drives me crazy. Did they check your CBC? Did they check an estradiol? Well, no. Okay. And then when I get into the whys of why those checking those other levels are so important. So one of my biggest pain
Pet
points,
peeves?
pet peeves, pain points is that providers will prescribe testosterone and not look at a patient's CBC, the complete blood count. We have to look at hematocrit. Hematocrit's important. And they don't know, most providers don't know that the primary secondary effect of utilizing testosterone is it increases erythropoietin, which increases blood volume, which increases hematocrit. So if your hematocrit is high, that's now putting you at risk for issues. My the blood banks love my patients, love my testo patients because if they're especially my guys, well, some of my women too, but if their hematocrit is creeping up, guess what? They're going to go donate blood because
Hmm.
we know that we're giving them testosterone because that's increasing red blood cell production.
Ah,
That's increasing erythropoietin. Most providers don't do that. They don't understand that concept and it drives me nuts. And so you got to be careful because there's a lot of platforms out there now and a lot of providers out there who may not properly be managing patients. And so they need to be careful with that.
So now would
But
they have, like, with the hematocrit, is it like anything with blood clots or anything
That can
causing?
put you
Yeah.
at risk, right?
Yeah.
If your blood becomes too viscous,
Yeah.
that can absolutely happen. Um, so we do want to be careful with that. But testosterone for women is amazing for bone health as well. So if you have testosterone and estrogen on board together, whew, that's a powerhouse. Um, Making sure that you're getting your D3 with K2, making sure you're doing your
I
weight
have
bearing
that.
exercises. Those are all important. But so testosterone, um, you know, there's it's such a controversial topic because there's so much misinformation out there, uh, outdated literature. When people hear testosterone,
They think of the 1980s with
Yeah.
the
that's what
men
caused
that
this
were.
whole
Yes.
that we're
Yep.
doping, right? So
Yep.
it's the wonderful '80s that the '80s were actually good,
I
but
mean, they were.
I
I
loved
rocked
it.
them.
Yeah,
I completely rocked them. But,
I
yeah,
loved it. But, I know, like, I was listening to some of my '80s music the other day, I was like,
Good
"God, I
stuff.
love this music." Anyways,
we
so
digress, so sorry.
always, but especially testosterone for women, I have women come to me, they're like, "Okay, I want testosterone, but I don't wanna become a man." And I'm like,
It doesn't
"Listen,
ha
it
you
doesn't."
just get,
Well,
like unless
yeah,
you take
but
a man dose, I mean,
exactly, and I there's a specialty for that. I don't specialize in that,
Yeah.
right? My job is testosterone for women, testosterone for men. I'll start my guys on, like, depending on their levels, but I'll start them on 140 milligrams. My women, I start on
it's like
5
20
to 10 week.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like,
yeah.
just depending on what their needs are. But, whenever we talk about testosterone, they immediately think about men.
Yeah.
Um, the reality is that we produce testosterone too, and we've had this conversation. Our 20s, our early 20s, our ovaries had an abundance of testosterone more so than estrogen, progesterone. Think about your 20s. Man, we had the energy, we had the sex
We
drive,
were
we had the
great.
vitality. We were
What happened?
we
Yeah.
were raising the roof, we were doing,
We
and
were
then
keeping the lights on, you know what I mean?
we
Like, we
were
were
keeping
with
yes,
our testosterone.
Yeah,
but
but then
and
it
then
just
yeah,
left.
late 20s,
Left the
early 30s,
building.
it starts to decline. Yeah, Elvis has left the building. By the time we're
Building.
40, most testosterone in women is low. Um, it like I've said, I call it the hormone of desire and the hormone of
Mhm.
Mm.
motivation.
Mhm.
Ah,
Now, a lot of women are like, "Well, Does it work that way for everybody? Not necessarily, right? I always tell patients, especially my patients who are like, I want, I want to increase my desire, my libido. Well, you've got to like your husband first. You've got to, or your partner. You do,
You
right?
did
Like,
talk about
It's
that.
very
That
true.
is so
yeah,
true.
it is
Doesn't
so
matter how
true.
much you have. If you're not
Right.
interested, nothing's gonna happen.
Right. And so like the one patient, I started her on testosterone and um she came back and it takes time. Like this isn't caffeine. It doesn't work overnight. It's not, it I always tell patients it's a marathon and not a sprint. It should catch up, but let's just see how things go, right? Um so she'd been on it for some time, got her back. I'm like, "How are things going?" She's like, "Meh." I'm like, "Nothing?" Like, "What about like taking care of yourself?" She's like, "Oh, that's amazing. It's great." I'm like, "Okay, so your libido's back then." And she goes, "Well," and I was like, "Well, what about with your husband?" And she goes, "Well, if you can fix my asshole husband." And I'm like,
There you
"Yeah,
go.
there's not enough
There you go.
testosterone in the world for that."
Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
This goes back to the biopsychosocial aspect of libido and how we treat, right? So really understanding where a patient's coming from and what their goal is for the testosterone. Now, if a patient comes to me and they're like, "I'm exhausted, I'm beat, I have that 2 o'clock like drag,
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on." Yeah, let's look at the whole picture, make sure there aren't any deficiencies in your micronutrients, in your blood levels. um, if we need to give you testosterone, let's do it because we know that it contributes to energy, motivation, confidence. I had a patient tell me yesterday, I have my confidence back. I know that I can go into work and my brain's functioning the way it's supposed to. I feel good. My workouts are much better. I like, I'm my function, my cognition is where it was, you know? And then I asked, I said, "How's your libido?" She goes, "We're working on it, but everything else is good," you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So it it works for a lot of different reasons,
Right.
right?
And you said that it can start decreasing earlier, like in
Yeah.
our 40s, right?
So late 20s,
Early th-
early
early
30s
30s.
is when
Okay. Oh,
we
I
can
gave us another decade, but well, just think about that. So if it's like the 30s, right? I'm 58. So for 28 years,
Yeah.
they've been going downhill.
well, okay, so let me add something else. Now
But wait, there's more.
There's
but
more.
wait, there's more. Okay, so our young ladies, our 20-year-olds who are like, "Okay, well, I wanna get on birth control pills, oral contraceptives," which has oral estrogen and progestins in it. Um, what happens to their libido? It goes down, right?
Hmm.
Or so there's things that can affect our testosterone.
Yeah.
So oral estrogens, certain other medications, right? SSRIs, so
Yeah.
antidepressants.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that can contribute to that. So that's why it's really important when
To
we're
know.
when we're counseling patients or when
Yeah.
we're talking to patients, we need to know what medications are you on? What disease processes or symptoms or syndromes might you have?
Yeah.
Right? We need to look at all of those things and then come up with a plan for the patient. But there's very little there's not formal training on how to um on how to treat and manage uh, formal education for testosterone
Yeah.
replacement in programs is like non-existent, right? Um and so again, most providers, I'm digressing, in my men's clinic, um, I had a patient come to me who went to a very respected PCP, primary care, and he was put on testosterone. They didn't run the labs that he needed, like the baseline labs. And so baseline labs are really imperative, right? So we can say, hey, if you have if you have an elevated PSA, prostate surface antigen, guess what? We're not starting you on testosterone. If that's not done, you shouldn't start a patient on testosterone. Um,
Mm.
for men, and then for women, depending if their total testosterone is super high and their sex hormone binding globulin is super low and their calculated free testosterone is on the upper high, you know, upper levels of normal or even high, we probably shouldn't put her on testosterone because she already has enough androgens,
Right.
right? And there's conditions
Yeah.
that hyperandrogenism, right? Some patients with PCOS,
PSU.
it's a,
Yeah.
it's a metabolic syndrome, right? So we need to be careful with that. Um,
So
but yeah,
the takeaway is always just make sure that you find the provider and that you do your research and that you do your blood work that you need because yes, I'm one of those that I just got a total testosterone level and it was, I forget I was like at 1. Like and I was like, well that doesn't 1 doesn't sound good in anything.
well, one is low. I
Yeah.
can tell you that. And
Yes,
they should be.
exactly.
I
But
think
I'm
I
like
was negative. I was
yeah,
minus.
I'm like, that doesn't sound it doesn't I mean, where do you one, but I think that like so we need to educate and we can do that by making sure that the blood test that you would ask for is to have the total testosterone, your sex
Or- So my so
hormone binding globulin,
yeah.
right? Your SHBG.
Mhm. So let me tell you I always have a story about everything,
No,
right?
We love
So
stories.
I
I love
do.
stories too. So it's funny because there's place that a place of employment that
I
I
love it. She's trying
I'm
to
trying, and
I
you know
know, I
me,
know. I
trying
could
shoot
tell.
to
I know.
I
I
she's
could
shoot
tell.
from the hip, and
it's
so it's
gonna get
very
good.
hard for me not to
Uh-huh.
say. So anyways, there was a conversation about um about testosterone and somebody thinking that and listen, I will be the first to admit I know what I know and I know what I don't know. Um I Testosterone's my specialty. I was a clinic director for a testosterone replacement clinic specifically for women. My training was extensive. Um and it was actually validated and I think I told you this story which was pretty cool. But anyway, so bringing on testosterone to a platform, right, was pretty cool. Trying to um, write a protocol and then having it changed because somebody with different initials behind their name thought that they knew better, right? Um, so, so there was a conversation where I was asked a question about testosterone and sex hormone binding. And I said, it's very important to know what the sex hormone binding is because we need to know because it does exactly what's in its name. It binds up hormones, specifically testosterone. So even if we have a testosterone level of 30, if our sex hormone binding globulin is like 99, your calculated free testosterone, which is the testosterone that's not bound up, is going to be low. So we have room for improvement. We have room to really, depending on how aggressive you want to be with delivering the therapy, having that conversation with the patient, right? Well, it was funny going back to the word guidelines. Um, a certain panel said, well, SHBG isn't used and we shouldn't. And I'm like, well, that's great that that panel says that. I wonder how many of those people really truly understand testosterone, prescribe testosterone. But I can tell you from my experience, this is what it is. Sex hormone binding globulin does exactly what's in its name. It binds up testosterone. We need to know. We need to know what the free testosterone is. Um, so it was pretty cool because about a year and a half or 2 years after that, I had gone to a conference and mind you, remember, this is how I practice. I check my panel
Mhm.
is a CBC, estradiol, progesterone, prolactin, FSH, LH, testosterone free and total, sex hormone binding globulin, and I don't know if I said DHT, dihydrotestosterone. Um,
All right, girls, that's what you need as a
that's
panel.
it as a panel. And so, and having a provider who can actually speak for that,
Yeah.
right? Like, why are we checking those things? It's important. So anyways, I had gone to a conference and um who the main speaker, one of not the main speaker, but one of the speakers who was the founder of this organization and founder of sexual medicine, um, it really validated the way that the way he managed his patients was the same way I managed mine. He wasn't at that time, he wasn't my mentor, he is now, but um it really validated. I was like, look, this is how I was taught. This is how I treat my testosterone patients, men and women. Men, we do a little bit more blood work. But it was so validating. And I was just like, I know what I know and I know what I don't
Yep.
know.
Absolutely.
So I had a patient just recently who was told, she's 48 years old. Um, she hadn't had a period in 5 years. And she was told that she was menopausal. And I said, okay. I said, maybe, right? Like, what age was your mom? Well, I don't know. She had a hysterectomy. Okay.
Yeah.
What blood work have you done? Absolutely none.
That's about right.
Really?
That's about right.
Yeah. Um, okay. She's like, well, I want hormone therapy. I want estrogen, progesterone, testosterone. I want it all. I said, that's great. We can get you started on, let's get you started on estrogen, progesterone. However, for testosterone, we need to do blood work. Okay. Her labs come back and her prolactin level is elevated.
Mhm.
Prolactin comes from your pituitary.
Mhm.
What does it do? What does it do? Right? It suppresses ovulation. It suppresses
Yep.
everything.
Yep.
She wasn't menopausal. She had high prolactin levels. Nobody ever did an MRI on her brain. Nobody treated her, right? So now she's on hormone therapy and she's having a period. She's like, "Oh my God." And I'm like, "It's you were never menopausal. You had high
That's
prolactin levels."
crazy.
So now we're in the process of getting that all
Oh,
worked up, right?
I mean, and thank God it wasn't anything like a tumor or anything on her pituitary.
Well, we don't know that yet because we haven't gotten the MRI results, but most likely it's a most likely benign pituitary adenoma.
Yes.
But the thing is
For 5 years.
for 5 years she was
that
told she was
just
menopausal
Yep.
and
misdiagnosed again.
Yep.
misdiagnosed, right? And so um it's it's really important. This is why I tell women all the time, you've got to be the CEO of your healthcare.
Yes.
You have to find a partner in your healthcare, and you have the right to fire and hire any provider, including myself, that you want, right? You have the right to do that. Um,
I want you to know I would not fire
We
you
would
if you
never
were my
fire you.
provider. We never would.
Thank you.
Again, do you want me to send those forms to you to start going into PA? Do you want me to send those forms out to you so that you can get
So you can
certified? Yeah. You want me? I'm sure I can find the form somewhere that
You're
can.
so funny. Well, and
I mean, you
it's
said what, 28 states? I mean, they're
Oh, is there more than that?
actively in 28 states, and
uh-huh.
it's funny because
Hopefully Nevada,
I
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
well, who knows?
No?
That might be happening
Oh,
soon.
no, I was saying I
So
hope
we'll see.
Nevada, because my son needs you.
Nevada, I'm licensed in Nevada.
Okay, then
There
I'm
you
gonna
go.
seriously, he doesn't know what to do. He goes to the doctor and they just don't get him. And he's like, "Mom, I'm depressed." He's
Yeah.
like suicidal. He has all these things and I have no energy and I don't want to do anything. And when he was on testosterone years ago, he was younger and he got him off the internet, which and he was felt great, he said. But I'm like, I don't want you doing that. You need to go to a doctor. And he goes, they don't ever
Well, now,
talk about
there
that.
you go.
I know.
We can
So
go to
I'm
Giselle.
definitely he's gonna go to you because he's so
Okay.
lost right now and nobody's listening. They're just saying, "Oh, well, you're young. You don't need that." And he's like,
We hear
"Okay."
that all the time. We hear that all the time, especially in women's health. "Oh, no, you're too young. You don't."
Yeah.
What's too young? Explain to me what's too young. And we know that certain things, certain traumas, childhood traumas, infections, uh, disease processes
Yeah.
can affect our ovaries. And guess what? We get those get fried or something happens and our hormones are thrown out of whack, right? So I that is one of the things that drives me crazy is hearing you're too young because what does that do to patients, to women, to men? What does that do? That basically says,
I don't
It
hear
doesn't
you.
yeah,
I
it
don't hear
doesn't
you.
validate anything that you leave
Yeah.
there thinking, "Oh,
Or
it's just me. I guess
right.
it's me."
Yep.
Or what I hear all the time is, well, I guess I have to live with this.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
Right. No, that's exactly.
absolutely not.
Yes.
You know, God, so many stories. No, you don't need to live with it. We just need to find a provider for you that is going to partner with you, listen to you, and treat you right. Um,
And
Who'd
that,
that's
have thought?
yeah. And that is the takeaway of why I have enjoyed every single one that we have done, because you validate always being your CEO, and you have
Right.
to. And then, like, sometimes, I think, like, even myself, you sort of like fall back and like, oh yeah, I'm sure. No, no, you never, you can't take your foot off the pedal. You always have to continue, because it's always something. Like, you fight to try to get estrogen patch, and then it's like the testosterone, like you said, you know your body better than anybody. We've been in so it's like, and Debbie, with your son, like, he knows how he feels and how he shouldn't be feeling. Like, you need to continue until you find that person.
yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
I think that's the case with all of us, men or women.
Yep.
It's
Correct.
hard to find it, and I've been doing research, and there's not a lot of providers who have the education in perimenopause, menopause.
Yeah.
So when you go to the doctor, they get very few classes. So unless there's more doctors getting
Yeah.
trained, we're going to still get the same answers. Like, oh,
Or we go to Giselle, and I will
Giselle.
put all of, yes,
Yeah.
Just send them my way.
I
Well,
will
I'll
send
I'll
them your
I'm
way.
definitely
I'll tell you all the states I'm licensed in.
I
okay.
will put, well, I know it's not PA, so I'm a little,
I know.
but now,
We've
since,
learned a
and
lot.
we did learn a lot, and I have to say, since, we did talk about GSM, but that we just recently did. So I'll just switch it on a thing. What were some of the funniest moments that you take? I know what I laughed at the most, but did you find any of our time so
Entertaining.
I know.
It's
Entertaining.
all
But
it's
do you
all
have a
entertainment.
moment?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, well, my favorite was Debbie. What word can you say now?
Yes.
Are you ready?
Yep.
Yes.
Vagina.
There you go. See?
Our
Look at
work
that.
here is done. Our
It
work here
is.
is done.
It
I
so
had a
is.
hard time. I mean, it
Oh,
was a
don't
Well,
we
it
it's
know it?
was
okay. I can't say the word compartmentalize.
but I
I
could say
just said
There you
it.
vagina
go. You
now.
did
I
it.
said it
Compartmentalize.
twice.
I did
No,
it.
but that's
But
it's super important because here I am thinking I'm 67 and I've always been told that you don't talk about that. You don't like that's always
exactly.
a hush. And so being with my amazing women crew now, they're giving me the confidence to know that it's okay. And like it was a big deal for me. And I still I still have a little bit of tension, but when I'm with you guys,
She
I
does.
feel I do
She
it.
says
So
it. Yeah.
that
And
would be one of the moments.
and talking on that point, Debbie, I love what you said. Um, it can be hard for women to talk about what's going on with our bodies, especially in our upbringing,
Yeah.
cultural influences. I am so blessed. So my mom's from Cuba, first generation Cuban American French. And my great grandfather was an OBGYN in Cuba. Um,
Wow.
so it was really cool because growing up, my mom always said, like, look, this is what's going to happen to your body. I
You're
want you to
lucky.
expect this.
Yeah.
And but that's the sad thing. Why are we lucky to have that? That should
Right.
be a
A
norm.
norm. Yeah.
Like, we should be able, it all starts in the home, I think, right? So if we're able to say, hey, look, these are the changes that are going to happen in your body, be it a boy or a girl, right? These are the
Yeah.
changes that are going to happen. I want you to come to me and talk to, and being able to use the words. I remember when, oh my God, it was the funniest thing. Um, one of my friends, when we lived in California, one of my friends, our sons, our oldest, grew up together. And they went to different schools, but they grew up together. And so she came to me and she goes, okay, look, um, I think it's time that you have to talk with the boys. And I was like, me? And she was very open with her son, but she's like, I want the baseball boys to come together. I want you to present a
That's
slideshow.
super
You to do
cool.
That's awesome.
So I did. And so our 2 oldest boys were in 7th grade. And then my middle one always had to do what big brother was doing. So he started a little bit earlier, but he was always very mature for his age. So, I sent out permission slips. I gave
What?
the I showed the slideshow to the parents. If you have any questions, let me know. This is what we're going to talk about. Sign the permission slip. So we had everybody at the house, and I
That's so
presented
cool.
the slideshow on STD. And I told the boys, started like they were in 7th grade. I don't know how old that is, but I told the boys, I said, look, I'm going to say the words. I'm going to say penis. I'm going to say the word vagina. I'm going to say these words. So get all your giggles out now. And so
So cute.
they of course they did. They
Giggled.
and they were
Yeah.
like, okay, this is fine. Yeah. And so we went through the slideshow, and I went through like the whole talk with them, and including on, if you guys are going to do something, which you shouldn't because you're too young. However, when it comes time, this is how you properly, use protection. Like, this is how you properly put it on and do all that. And so it was so funny because I remember leaving. It was at her house. I was leaving to go to my house, and her son comes running out. I'm in I had my window down. Mrs. Teason, Mrs. Teason. And I was like, yes, honey. Can you get an STD from kissing? And I'm
Oh,
like, well, technically, yeah,
Right.
you
Yeah.
can, right? So anyways, so they ended up coming to my house to stay the night, the boys. I come walking down the stairs early in the morning, and the boys are on the couch, and one of them, like, my son is just sitting there, and then the other one's like this, and then one of them was just like, and I was like, "Oh, you guys are up early. What's going on?" And they're like, "Nothing." And I made a joke. I said, "Did you guys have some nightmares about some stuff?" And they're like, "Yes, we
my
had a nightmare
gosh.
that our penis." Like, one of them was like, "I had a nightmare that my penis fell off. I had a
God.
nightmare," and I was like, "My work here is done." No,
It's
I
My
done.
didn't.
work here is done.
Exactly. Yes.
But
Exactly.
being able to talk to kids frankly and say, "Hey, look, this is stuff that happens in our life. These are our body parts. It's to be respected. It's not derogatory." And then especially for females, for little girls, right? Like, look, these are the words. This is what we're going to use. We're not going to, if you have questions about your body changing, come to us. We want, come
That's
to
nice.
me. So it's important because it really kind of it takes away all that, like, the stigma and the
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
for the longest time, my mother-in-law, bless her heart, couldn't say the word period. She couldn't say the word sex. She couldn't, like, it's very, because she was raised, you don't say those words.
I
See,
know.
see,
That's
Debbie, look,
that's.
and
I'm
now
a big
Debbie
girl
says
now. I'm a big girl
she's a big
now.
girl now. She says it. Now, what, Debbie, do you have a
Um,
favorite
I didn't even
that
realize
you
it
like?
was a favorite, but it's the one where I learned about the poop cereal. What was it called again? Poop
Gut health.
cereal.
The
Poop like a champ.
poop like a
Poop like a
champion.
champion. Yeah,
That
that's
is my
probably
favorite.
because I didn't even realize it because you guys are chatting about it. I'm like, oh, I gotta find out. I'm on my phone and I'm, oh my
No, we
gosh. And
realized
then
it, Jeff.
but I didn't realize it because I was in this world of I need some help with pooping. So I'm like, I'm looking on the website. Then there's flavors. I was so excited. I ordered a box. It was
All
great.
while we're
We
on
were
the
on the box,
podcast,
and I
and
just totally forgot
Giselle
about
and I
them. They're just
are
watching.
we're watching your little, your box, and we're like, yep, nope. And
She's
Giselle and
not
I are
even
like, nope, she's
listening.
gone.
She's
We see you on the phone. Oh, there's different flavors, like showing us your phone. There's different flavors, guys. Look, there's different
I
flavors.
know.
And we're like, hey, Debbie, don't let it affect you at all that
Now
we
we're
are
having a
still in the middle of a
podcast.
podcast. Yeah.
I
Was
would say
talking
that.
about gut health. She was so excited about her gut health. No, oh my God, there's so many,
That was
so
probably
Yeah.
many
my,
favorites.
and not even
Yeah.
knowing it was my favorite because I was so into
I
my
know.
world of poop like a champion.
I know,
So
Hey,
but
yeah. Anyway, so
I have one of my patients, she loves that, actually not one, many. They love
yeah,
that cereal. There's another good cereal out there too.
here I
There's a
go.
couple of them. I know, right? Well, it doesn't have the fiber content
Okay.
that Poop Like a Champion. I mean, it's in its name, Poop Like a Champion, right? But so Catalina Crunch has fiber and protein, right?
Okay,
So
that
that's
would
a
be a
good
good
one.
one then.
Yeah,
I'm gonna text that to
there's a
myself.
couple. There you go.
oh, there she goes on the phone again.
I know, on the
Catalina
phone.
Crunch.
Do you want to look on Amazon, see if you can get it delivered by Wednesday, Debbie?
Well,
Doing
I'm gonna
doing
be
her
out of
research. I
town.
love it.
I'm gonna do my research. I will check. You know,
Yeah.
no, but we have honestly, we've learned, Giselle. We have learned
So much.
so much, but
Yes.
we've also learned to be confident, to stand up for ourselves, which
Mhm.
is a huge deal for men and women. But I think women my age, when you were raised to not talk about it, and you have to wait till you're this age with amazing women. So I think you are fulfilling a gap for so many of us that we didn't have. I
Would
mean,
agree.
honestly, it's sad that this is how I'm finding out. It's like, I have,
Well,
I know.
it's sad. It's not
yeah,
right. We need to be
it's
more open and honest and feel safe having these conversations. And you don't go to
right.
your doctor. I never would say to my doctor, "Oh, I didn't, man." I was like, "Oh, I'm fine."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And
Yeah.
So yeah,
that's the beauty of, like, just like you said, it gains confidence. It does, because knowledge is
knowledge
the
is
key to
power, as
everything.
that they say.
It is power. Truly is. So,
That's one of my
Yeah,
favorite
knowledge is power.
phrases is
yeah.
knowledge is power. Cause again, right? Like I refuse to go to a provider and be told
Yeah.
it's okay. It's
Exactly.
okay. It's part of aging or
You're stressed.
yeah, or
You're
you're
just
stressed.
yeah.
And like I said, like again, during perimenopause and menopause, I had a patient yesterday. She was like, I- m- I'm a horrible mom. I'm a horrible person. I said, absolutely not. You have to give yourself some grace. You're
Yes.
going through puberty in reverse, is what you're going through.
Yeah.
And your hormones look like an etch a sketch gone wild, right? And so we need to be able to really listen to our patients and help them
Yeah.
through and get them through this. You're not crazy. Um, you should never be alone through this. I want my patients empowered. I want my patients knowledgeable. I want my patients to be able to go into their provider's office and say, you know what? I read this on um I read this research article, or I heard this. This is what I know. This is what I think I want to try. Red flags. If your provider dismisses you or says, nope, we don't do that, or, those are red flags. Find another provider. There is a provider out there. There is. Uh,
Perfect.
yeah.
And that is so true. There is. And for everybody who can have I think just oh my gosh, the luck to have you as a provider is really, I hope they realize how lucky they are. I know that I've learned so much. I know that our listeners had, and I am just so excited that you are on our second season. No,
And
second season.
and
Yeah.
so here's what I got today. This is what I got for our second
Okay.
season. Your symptoms are real.
Hmm.
Your questions are valid, and you deserve answers. There you go.
Amen.
Yeah.
That sounds that
And
that that hits
I
the
think
nail on the
that's thank you, Giselle, because now I feel like I'm okay. So
yeah,
yeah.
thank you.
I do. And I agree. Like, you had any questions, and I would always be like, "Oh, when we're on with Giselle, we'll get them answered." And we always
So
do.
thank you.
And
Thank
I
you.
thank you. And I'm
Of
so
course.
excited. I mean, this is now your fifth time that you've appeared here. Thank
I
you.
love it.
Thank you very
I love
much.
it. I
Yes.
love it.
And as
It's
we,
always an honor to be around amazing women and to be in the company of amazing women, I
We
thank
think,
you.
love you.
right?
I feel the same way. I
Like
feel the same way about you also.
like I always say, we have to straighten each other's crowns and not tear them down. And
Yeah, we do.
so,
I
yep,
agree.
Yeah,
so
we
that's
do.
important.
So thank you.
Yeah. Yes.
You're welcome.
Thank you. And we, as I can't believe it's already and I mean, it goes by so quick. I mean, seriously, we could be talking and it would be midnight. You would watch like the light go and you'd be like, well, it's dark now, but yeah.
Well, I'm a little hungry, so
Okay.
I
All
think
right.
it's
So
time to say our
here we
thank
go.
yous.
I'm like, listen, I can talk
Thank you.
for another.
I know.
I can continue on. Just tell me what topic and we'll talk
Well,
about it.
We'll
we
have you
will.
back.
As we like to say, yes, Giselle will be back and we will talk more. Well, we won't even tell you what we'll talk about next. We'll just keep it as a little cliffhanger. But we
Yes.
wanted to say
Same.
thank you
Thank you.
to all of our amazing sponsors, Good Day Chocolate and Dolce Vita Spa, for supporting us and helping us feel empowered and supported. And to our affiliate partners, Parlor Games, C Nutrition, Isogenics, and Pantry Products for helping us build the menopause community. And you can follow us on Spotify. Please hit the follow, Apple Podcast, and YouTube. And you can share this episode with a friend or a coworker because, well, we answer your questions and we're funny while we do it. That's
And
what I
we're
like to say.
honest.
And we are honest.
And we
We
have
are.
stories. We have lots of stories.
We do. So, as we always like to say, Debbie, this is the other thing that we got her to say. What do we
Ready?
like to say at the end?
See you next
See
Tuesday.
you next Tuesday.
Good job, Deb. I'm proud of you.
Really, I'll see you Tuesday.